Hey, my name is Malia Kency. I'll be discussing techniques of modern attacks. I'll first talk about what are cyber attacks and the history of them, then discuss different types and the techniques used for each. I will end with how to prevent these attacks from happening. So what exactly is a cyber attack? It can be broken down to two different types. The first one, the goal is to disable the target computer by shutting it down. The second one, the goal is to get access to the target computer's data and gain admin privileges. A cyber attack is an attempt to disable, destroy, or steal unauthorized access and information. This malicious attempt is done by an individual or organization to breach the information system. The targeted groups are typically national or corporate organizations. It could also sometimes be the general public. Cyber attacks increases every year as people try to benefit from vulnerable business systems. So what is malware? Malware is a technique attackers use to achieve their goals. It can be described as malicious software that is downloaded to a target computer to perform a task, such as stealing data, to encrypt files, or demanding ransom. It includes spyware, ransomware, viruses, and worms. Malware breaches a network through vulnerability, typically when a user clicks a dangerous link or email attachment. It would then install a risky attachment onto the target's computer. Malware can do the following. They can block access to key components of a network, such as using ransomware. It installs malware of additional hardware software. It can also obtain information by transmitting data from a hard drive, which is like using spyware. It disrupts certain components and it renders the systems inoperable. So why is malware important? Well, it can be used to provide aid for other cyber attacks, making it a bigger attack onto a target. The history of cyber attacks. In 1988, Robert Tappan Morris developed a program to access the size of the internet. The initial intentions were good, but had some unexpected consequences. The program will crawl the web, installing itself on other computers. Once installed, it would then count how many copies it made. The results was supposed to indicate the number of computers connected to the internet. However, Morris made a command forcing this worm to install itself on a computer every 1 out of 7 times, even if the computer claimed to already have the program. With each installation, the infected computers were further debilitated until they finally crashed. It was the first DDoS, which is the distributed denial of service attack. The picture here shows the disk providing the Morris Internet Worm source code. It says, this disk contains source code of the Morris Internet Worm program. This tiny 99-line program brought large pieces of the internet to a standstill on November 2nd, 1988. The worm was the first of many intrusive programs that used the internet to spread. In 2002, the first attack on the internet. The internet was attacked directly. 13 DNS domain name system root servers were targeted. It was said that 4 of the primary 13 root servers were up during the attack. 7 were completely down and 2 were suffering severe degradation. The DNS root servers are the master list of domain names and IP addresses on the internet, that machines from which all DNS lookup information flows. Taking this offline or making them inaccessible, any application that uses domain names will stop functioning properly. A DDoS attack assaulted the entire internet. Hackers took control of dozens of machines, instructing them remotely to flood specified IP addresses. The attack is believed to have been an ICMP ping flood. This stops networked devices from responding to traffic by pounding them with packets. The assault only lasted an hour. However, if it was sustained longer, it would have possibly shut down the entire internet. Different types of cyber attacks. There's keylogger, denial of service, waterhole attacks, phishing, cookie theft, and bait and switch. So the technique of the first one, keylogger. This is also known as keyboard capturing. The method of this attack is to record a key sequence and strokes of a keyboard into a log file on the target's machine. This attack can be achieved by using video surveillance, hardware bugging keyboards, substituting a keyboard driver, and more. Keyloggers can be either software-based or hardware devices. Software-based targets the programs installed on a computer. A hardware device includes target keyboards, smartphones, and sensors. This attack could spread in multiple ways, allowing the hackers full access to private information. It can be installed when a user opens a file attached to an email, or installed through a web script which exploits a vulnerability. For denial of service, there are two general methods: flooding services and crashing services. This attack is intended to shut down a machine or network, making it inaccessible to its users. It completes this by flooding the target with traffic or sending it information, which could also trigger a crash. The technique of DOS attack is to flood the machine with tons of requests to overwhelm their resources, which would then restrict the actual request from being fulfilled. By exploiting vulnerabilities, the target system will eventually crash. The input will be sent and then takes advantages of bugs in the target's machine, making it crash, or destabilizing the system, making it unusable. Phishing is actually a popular cyber attack. This technique a hacker uses is to replicate the most accessed sites and then trap the victims by sending a spoof link. If the victim logs in or enters some data, the hacker then receives that private information by using a Trojan running on a fake site. The most popular way of receiving this goal is by using a disguised email as a weapon. It tricks the email recipient into believing that the message is something that they need or want or important, such as a request from the bank or a note from someone they know. Then once they click the link provided in the email or download an attachment, the hacker will now have full access. This technique is email phishing scam. Spear phishing usually targets a specific person or enterprise. Here, the attacker mimics an employee within a company in order to gain sensitive access to material. An email will be sent redirecting the recipient to a password-protected internal document which will then be spoofed. Then the attacker will be able to steal the credentials, gaining full access. So there's a phishing kit that typically includes website development, software coding, and content that can be used to mimic legitimate sites and spamming software, helping to mass emails sent. It makes it easier for hackers to launch these phishing campaigns. Waterhole attacks. For this attack, hackers hit the most accessible physical point of a victim. They might create a fake Wi-Fi access point or modify the most visited website and redirect them to get their personal information. As the attack collects information on a user from that specific place, detecting the attack becomes harder. For this attack, attackers first profile their targets, becoming aware of their victim's timing, studying the website most visited. Then they look for vulnerabilities in the website and inject malicious code that will redirect the target to a separate site. This separate site is where the malware is hosted. Now the compromised website is ready to inject the target with the injected malware upon request. Cookie theft, which is also known as session hijacking. The cookies of our browser keep our personal data for different sites that we access. The hacker tries to gain full access to one's cookie and then authenticate themselves as the victim on the browser. The technique used for this is a hacker uses a computer between a node and server, which is shown in the picture. The hacker will use a source router, internet protocol, or IP packets to gain unauthorized access between two communicating nodes. Then they will route the packets containing cookies to pass through their computer before reaching the destination. bait and switch. For this attack, the hacker buys advertising spaces on the websites. Once the user clicks on the ad, they might get redirected to a page that's infected with the malware. The hacker can then install malware on the user computer and run a malicious program, gaining unprivileged access. Some recent attacks. WannaCry. It happened in May of 2017. This attack took over infected computers and encrypted the contents of their hard drives. It exploited a vulnerability in Microsoft Windows by using a code that was developed by US NSA. This code was stolen and linked by a hacking group called Shadow Brokers. These hackers demanded a payment in bitcoins. Another one is Equifax. This is a massive credit rating agency. They were attacked in July of 2017. The hackers exploited a U.S. website application vulnerability, gaining access to personal files. The attack led to a huge amount of data being leaked. Data such as social security numbers, birth dates, and even credit card numbers. GitHub happened in February of 2018. A massive denial of service attack created 1.35 terabytes per second of traffic. GitHub went offline, resulting in being the attack after less than 20 minutes. So, concluding, there are some ways to prevent these attacks. The main way is basically being aware of possible threats and different cyber attacks that could possibly happen. Another way is to stay up to date on the latest software. These updates usually include security bug fixes and small patches that could be a vulnerability. Other ways to prevent is mainly making sure the website that you're using is secure and avoid logging onto public computers with important accounts.